In the previous spoiler, it was mentioned that Luo Feng, upholding the belief of following his true heart, successfully passed the evaluation of the third phase mission with a perfect completion rate. Just as Luo Feng was joyfully reading the comments and generous rewards, the fourth phase mission quietly arrived. However, with just a single glance at the mission content, the smile on Luo Feng's face completely vanished. This is because, this time, the virtual universe company was demanding that he personally judge his family members who had committed serious crimes. What shocked him even more was that, among the clansmen he was required to execute this time, not only was the number exactly the same as in the previous task, but even the punishment options were nearly identical. And on that list, prominently displayed, was the name of his dearest one, his father. This was clearly another carefully designed trial set by the universe venerables. If the previous test was to assess whether he had the courage to enforce justice impartially in the face of external power and pressure, then this one was meant to examine whether he could remain fair and selfless in the face of familial bonds, or whether he could truly separate public duty from personal feelings and refuse to bend the law for the sake of kinship. Although Su Xian had long established strict family rules for the Luo family, and the family court was responsible for regulating the behavior of its members, Luo Feng's growing strength and the increasing authority he held led to the family's rising influence in the Qianwu universe country. Naturally, the Luo family gradually secured a place within this vast domain. However, the family's current surveillance and monitoring systems still could not compare to those of the virtual universe company. As a result, even when corrupt and ruthless individuals emerged within the family were those who would stop at nothing to achieve their goals, some were still able to evade internal investigations and judgments. In contrast, the virtual universe company had eyes and ears throughout the entire human territory. No matter how secretive or cunning someone might be, once the company decided to investigate, there was no escape. In the end, every Luo family member deemed guilty by the company was handed over to Luo Feng for judgment, which is another trial to test whether he would abandon principle for the sake of personal ties, and whether he could uphold the standard for the bottom line in slaughter. Do you remember the bottom line in slaughter I mentioned earlier? With Luo Feng's immense resources, his grandchildren and later descendants advanced rapidly within just a few hundred years. Many reached the planetary or stellar level, and the most gifted even broke through to the universe level. However, for this group, the restrictive bottom line was far stricter than for powerful figures like the King Blood Devil. For them, slaughtering just 100 people or even a few universe citizens would constitute an unforgivable crime. In contrast, a powerful king immortal like the King Blood Devil might not even be judged as having committed a major crime after slaughtering tens of thousands. Are you curious about the reasoning behind such a drastic disparity? In the world of Swallowed Star, the strong reign supreme. As long as one is powerful enough, they can set the rules that all other beings in the universe must follow. The so-called bottom line in slaughter is essentially a balancing mechanism to restrain this power structure. On one hand, it serves to prevent the indiscriminate slaughter of innocents by the powerful figures, which could lead to the decline of the entire human race. If new generations of geniuses are continuously killed before their time, it would ultimately weaken humanity's overall strength in resisting alien races. On the other hand, it also reflects a tolerance and respect for the power of the strong. After all, a king immortal can destroy a planet with a mere flick of their finger, and they possess a high degree of autonomy and control over their subordinate forces. Battles between the strong often focus only on the outcome, not the process. Even the aftermath alone can destroy vast regions of space and cause the deaths of millions. Only those truly compassionate toward the weak and who cherish life will try to protect the innocent. But in reality, most powerful beings care more about reputation and dignity as once they decide not to tolerate any offense, turning hundreds or even thousands of lives to dust is merely a matter of a single thought. More importantly, comfort can never produce a true powerhouse. As everyone knows, every battle in the huge Axe Dojo is a life and death struggle as one side is destined to demise. Yet even so, people still rush forward to participating, one after another, from the star level to the universe level, and even world masters, without exception. What they seek is that one chance to unlock their potential and achieve a breakthrough in the face of life and death. Just like Hong, though he fought constantly in the killing arena and did improve his combat skills, he was never able to break through from the planetary level to the star level. Compared to the Great Nirvana period, his progress in realm advancement was especially slow. This is precisely why, under normal evolution, Nualan Shan took 80,000 years to barely reach the universe level, but under the brutal pressure of the extraterritorial battlefield, he managed to break through to the world master level in just a few thousand years. One must understand that in life or death situations, a person's instincts are pushed to the extreme where every cell yearns for evolution, driving the individual to grow stronger. This is the essence of high-pressure cultivation, for it forces a warrior to seek breakthroughs at the edge of their limits. However, this method of cultivation comes with an enormous risk of death. True warriors who step into this realm must always be prepared to die, because whether they'll be alive in the next moment is something no one can predict. Back to the plot. According to the restrictive bottomline system, several members of the Luo family had already touched or even crossed the threshold. Even if the virtual universe company hadn't deliberately assigned this task, Luo Feng would never have turned a blind eye to such matters. Since Luo Feng became a core member of the virtual universe company, the Luo family's reputation in the Qianwu universe country has skyrocketed. Numerous forces scrambled to curry favor with them, especially within the Milky Way, where Luo Feng's title as the Lord of Milky Way gave the family deep roots and influence spanning countless star systems. As Luo Feng's strength continued to grow, he understood clearly that the family's influence would only continue to expand. However, a newly rising family that had only been established for a few hundred years was already showing signs of rot and decay. Luo Feng knew well that if this was allowed to continue, in 1,000 or 10,000 years, the Luo family would inevitably become a cancer within the human race, which bringing harm to the entire species. In the end, it would only be a matter of time before peak-level powerhouses stepped in to completely wipe it out. Luo Feng never considered himself a saint, but he would never tolerate such scum within his family. Thus, he proactively requested detailed evidence of crimes from the Virtual Universe Company's supervisory department and prepared to publicly conduct the trials in front of all his descendants as a stern warning. At his command, Su Xian escorted all involved family members to a major base planet of the Luo family. Based on the severity of their crimes, those guilty of serious offenses and carrying multiple lives on their hands were all sentenced to death. These major offenders made up more than 60% of all the criminals. How could Luo Feng not be furious? As for the rest, although their crimes were not heinous, based on their specific actions and the punishment guidelines provided by the Virtual Universe Company, Luo Feng sentenced them to varying prison terms. Compared to the sentencing standards he used when ordered to judge the serious offenders under the King Blood Devil, this imprisonment period was clearly shorter. After all, those under the King Blood Devil were at least World Master level powerhouses, while the strongest of the Luo family culprits were merely universe level, not even in the same league. Even so, when converted according to life-tier proportions, a 10,000-year sentence for a stellar-level warrior was nearly equivalent to a life sentence. After all, having lost access to the Luo family's resources, these people would almost certainly never break through to the universe level. As it stood, the only Luo family member who had reached the universe level had already been personally executed by Luo Feng. In the end, apart from 3 who were sentenced to a mere 100 years, all the remaining non-death sentence offenders were nearly fated to spend the rest of their lives in prison, which is until they died of old age. After completing the trials and sternly reprimanding all present descendants, Luo Feng went alone to a secluded place, skipping the judgment of his father and directly declaring him innocent. He then decisively shut down the virtual universe's video synchronization transmission. This action enraged many universe venerables who acted as judges and examiners. In the end, they determined that Luo Feng's performance was only worth 70% of the task completion and awarded him the corresponding points. The mission, which originally had a maximum reward of 2 million points, ultimately earned Luo Feng less than 1.5 million. Although the points were of great significance to him, Luo Feng had no regrets, especially regarding the verdict on his father. He remained firm in his convictions and was never swayed. In fact, among the many universe venerables responsible for evaluating Luo Feng's performance, only one was highly dissatisfied with how he handled the 4th phase of the mission. The others generally believed that Luo Feng's judgments in executing the guilty members of his family were fair and just, warranting at least a 90% completion rating and a higher point reward. As for not judging his father and directly declaring him innocent, it was also a matter of human sentiment. In their view, if a person had no personal feelings at all, it would actually be seen as inhumane. However, the universe venerable who insisted on opposing the verdict refused to back down. He believed Luo Feng had violated the Virtual Universe Company's orders by not conducting a formal trial for his father, effectively treating it as insubordination. He even accused Luo Feng of shielding a relative, claiming he had chosen familial affection over justice, which is an act he labeled as selfish and extreme. After much heated debate, a compromise was finally reached where Luo Feng would receive a moderate, though not high, score. Nevertheless, for a mission with a maximum point of 2 million, a 70% completion rating was still considered a failure. Even so, Luo Feng remained composed. In his eyes, his father had merely been manipulated and was entirely unaware of the crimes committed in his name. Those who had acted unlawfully under the guise of his father's authority were, in truth, leveraging Luo Feng's own influence. As a special supervisory envoy appointed by the Virtual Universe Company, Luo Feng held the top 10 position of power in the Qianwu Universe country, enough to silence countless officials and merchants. Even when they sensed something was wrong, they dared not speak up, which ultimately enabling the corruption within the Luo family and emboldening outsiders to exploit it, flouting all boundaries and mercilessly harming the innocent. Luo Feng understood that if his father had truly been found guilty, he would have willingly accepted punishment in his place. However, his father was completely absorbed in virtual gaming and uninterested in wielding power. His so-called friends merely exploited his name to do evil. Though he was unaware, he was still guilty of negligence in supervision. Thus, while Luo Feng spared his father public judgment to protect his dignity, he later chose to personally explain everything and confront his father with the truth. After all, it was better to correct mistakes while they were still manageable than to wait until the Virtual Universe Company lost patience and forcibly intervened. By that time, even if he wished to protect his family, it would be beyond his power. King Jinyan strongly supported Luo Feng's decision. In his view, many powerful beings cultivated and sought strength for the very purpose of protecting their loved ones. If one couldn't even protect their closest kin, then what was the point of cultivation? He even sternly warned Luo Feng not to be misled by the comments of certain universe venerables. To King Jinyan, their cold, emotionless judgments were merely attempts to mold Luo Feng into a mindless puppet who blindly followed orders. This made it clear that King Jinyan was a man of integrity, forthright, loyal in gratitude and enmity, and unyielding in principle. He never compromised when it came to his core beliefs. Because of this, despite his strength approaching that of a universe venerable, he only accepted harmless tasks and was more often assigned to remain in Primal Chaos City, teaching and giving lectures. With his invincible king immortal level power, he should have been entrusted with more difficult and crucial missions, never relegated to the position that King Nightmare Candle sarcastically described, as if idle, constantly following Luo Feng around like a bodyguard with nothing better to do. After completing this high-reward mission, Luo Feng entrusted Su Xian with the arrangements for various family protection measures and set off for the beginning universe to begin a secluded training session lasting at least 1,000 years. After all, as a domain master-level core member of the Virtual Universe Company, he enjoyed the privilege of 300 years of free cultivation within Primal Chaos City. It's worth mentioning that Earth had now become a core territory jointly owned by Luo Feng and the Virtual Universe Company. As such, the Luo family's main base had already been relocated from Earth to another planet to avoid prolonged exposure to surveillance. However, other planets lacked the secrecy and safety of Earth. Because of this, Luo Feng had to implement multiple layers of security measures in advance to ensure his family's safety. Of course, Su Xian and Luo Feng's parents continued to reside on Earth for the long term. And now, Earth could be considered the safest planet among all the universe countries. Ever since Luo Feng signed a joint ownership agreement with the Virtual Universe Company, each of the 5 major powers, including the Virtual Universe Company, had stationed a King Immortal on long-term guard duty in the solar system. In addition, each of these forces established a permanent teleportation channel in the solar system that led directly to their respective main bases. This meant that if Earth ever faced a crisis, universe masters from all sides could instantly descend to enforce deterrence and defense. With his family living in an absolutely secure environment, Luo Feng could embark on his journey to the Primal Chaos City in the beginning universe with peace of mind. Here's a small spoiler in advance. When Luo Feng returns to Primal Chaos City, the long-anticipated Primal Chaos City leader will finally make his appearance. After witnessing the awe-inspiring and domineering debut of Venerable Fire Erosion, I'm even more excited about the city leader's arrival. Aren't you? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section below. And when Luo Feng returns from the beginning universe, each of his bodies will have reached the pinnacle of World Master Level 9. He will even earn the title of king on the extraterritorial battlefield while still at the World Master level, shaking the universe with his might and becoming the fearsome King Knife River, a name that makes countless powerful beings tremble. Such growth is truly exhilarating. Honestly, I can't wait to witness Luo Feng's brilliance. Well, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching this video. Wish you a wonderful day.